Welcome to Pencils and Lipstick. This is a podcast for indie authors. I'm Kat Caldwell, novelist, short story writer, and book coach. Here on Pencils and Lipstick, we're obsessed with all things story, and it is my goal to bring you the writing tips that you need to make your
Welcome back to another week, everybody.
Life.
This is episode 305 of Pencils and Lipstick. I'm Kat Caldwell, and we are in an interview this week. How are you guys doing? We are fully in April. Happy Easter to everybody. Had a lovely weekend here in Virginia. Just beautiful sun. I hope everyone got outside and got to chase those eggs, find those eggs, I guess. And whether you are in the Southern Hemisphere or the Northern Hemisphere, I feel like fall and spring are like those moments in the year that is easiest to write. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. There's more sunshine. People seem to be settled, right? I don't know. There's just something about it. So I am balancing writing and marketing at the same time. Next Love comes out May 8th. And if you're on my newsletter, if you follow me on social media, you would have seen the new cover that got revealed. If you're not following me and you're not on my newsletter, I think you should be. The links are always below. But you would have seen my new cover, which I'm really excited about. I really love it. So I'm excited about the cover. I'm excited about the story. I just keep thinking about, finally getting it into people's hands. And I'm just very excited about the story. I actually sent it out to some of my ARC readers, and I'm also working with a woman she's doing an ARC team as well. I have my small ARC team, and you can be on my ARC team. That's another reason why you should follow me on social media and on my newsletter. You would get all that information. So before we move into the episode, if you are listening on a podcast app, it would be great if you would like and subscribe and maybe even review. That always helps the podcast. I'm so grateful for everyone who does that. I know there are like a million different apps that you could listen to, and everyone listens on a different one, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just anything would helps, sort of move the algorithm. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, you can like and subscribe and also just comment or share. It's also very helpful. Obviously, we're always fighting against this algorithm, right? So today I have an interview, as I was saying, with Molly Arbuthnott. She is a children's book writer. She has gone both indie and traditional. And so it's going to be pretty interesting, especially for any of you interested in writing picture books or children's books or even middle grade, elementary and middle grade, because we're talking about illustrators quite a bit. If you are looking into character art, I talk to Molly a lot about where she found that person, how she worked with the people. I think she's worked with 3 or 4 people. So we go quite a bit into that. And, you can always glean something from writers, even if they don't write in your same genre. So I encourage you to keep listening. If you don't want to write children's books or picture books, it's always fun to hear, why people have become writers. She also has found a way to travel and share her books, which I thought was pretty genius. So definitely, if you want to figure out a way to do that, listen in on this episode. I think you're going to get some ideas from her. So before we go into the interview, I just want to encourage you to keep writing and keep working on your books. I am trying to really, I guess, focus a little bit, and it's getting a little difficult when you have a book coming out to launch that you're excited about, but you have another 2 books that I also want to work on. And then in 2 weeks, I have an in-person. If you're anywhere near Roanoke, Virginia, you might want to come out to Authors Rock Roanoke. There's going to be a lot of us out there, where there's going to be VIP bags given away and just lots of books that you can choose to purchase. So that will be fun. And I'm getting together some really fun things for that. I'm going to be talking a little bit more on my newsletter about the different items that I'm going to be using at these in-person events. And we'll probably talk about them in some of the Craft and Connect episodes that we have coming up. So monthly, don't forget, we have Craft and Connect with Becky Grogan. We talk about marketing and marketing your book. But I'm going to probably also I will be talking about it on my writing newsletter. So be sure to sign up there. We're talking about reader magnets. And especially since I write in a couple different genres, what can I do to grab the attention of the correct person as they walk past my table? I've been spending a lot of time thinking about that. And at the same time, putting together, like I put together a checklist in the form of a bookmark for coffee stains. Just something really funny, like how to survive a double shift, since Anna is a barista and that's how she's sort of trying to make money as she gets through college. And so it's just like a fun little bookmark and a funny little checklist. And at the same time thinking, okay, how could I use that, or how could I develop that into a reader magnet for people, in the digital world who I sort of want to attract to my writing. So I've been thinking about that a lot. I'll probably do one full episode of just all the little ideas of reader magnets that I'm searching for and coming up with and brainstorming with other people who aren't writers. I'm trying to figure out what readers want. So I think that's also a very important distinction that we have to figure out. Like something that sounds cool to a writer might not actually attract the reader. And I feel like I should know that, but it's been kind of like a mind-blowing experience here to be like, oh, actually, I should brainstorm with readers. What would catch their attention, right? So I've been doing that and, trying to think of how I'll set up my table and, just putting together that marketing piece. At the same time, because I'm working with Becky and because I am working with PS I Love You, which is a closed door PR group, like I want to say firm, but no, they're a group. They're putting together an ARC team for me. And I'm really trying to focus in my Instagram, and mostly my Instagram. TikTok, I still go a little into writing, just mostly into the reader and like, what does the reader want? And because of that, you might be noticing that I am pushing really hard into closed door. I do write closed door. I find writing open door scenes aren't very interesting to me. It's just not something that I like doing. And as I get older, I don't necessarily like reading them either. I find them to be pretty repetitive and they're not very unique and therefore not very interesting. And I've been thinking about and have not yet figured out this distinction in romance that we have. And I'm part of quite a few romance groups in which the things that readers are looking for or not looking for, like the specifics that they're listing, I didn't always know that they were available. Let's say that, because I tend to read wide. I prefer closed door. It doesn't matter if it's a gritty mystery or gritty contemporary fiction. I don't necessarily go towards cozy, but I just want the story, right, more than the open bedroom. So in the romance world, though, there's a lot of people looking for open bedroom door and specifics that go on behind that door, or I guess inside. so I'm also trying to figure out another way to differentiate there. Mine are not cozy, but they have very little swearing, if any, and they are all closed door. They're still pretty swoony, though. Like a lot of people, interestingly enough, I have some readers describe them as steamy. I think because the tension is pretty high, because that's what I like. I like the tension happening between the two characters, right? Are they going to get together? Are they going to finally kiss, And so some people describe them as steamy, and yet that also has a different definition in a lot of people's heads. So just constantly thinking about these distinctions that we can or should make. And it's interesting because I didn't grow up thinking like this with books. I would just pull a book off the shelf and read it. so I feel like it's new to me, even if it shouldn't be new. So I would love to hear from you guys, whoever you want on the show or what you're struggling with. Just like I tell you guys what I'm struggling with, you can DM me on TikTok or on Instagram. Would love to hear from you. A couple of you have emailed me to suggest people for the show. I love that. Please let me know. It pretty much has to be somebody who has published 3 books or more. That's usually the sweet spot. 3 right there is like people who have really gone into the journey of writing. They're kind of committed to it. It's just not the one book. So there is a distinction on getting on Pencils and Lipstick. We're not really here just for the book. We're here about like your journey and writing and how you know how you get there. And if you know somebody who does something for writers, helps them, if they are a marketing or, websites or book covers, all these people I've had on the show in just the last few weeks, but we always need more perspectives and more help and more thoughts. So, I'm trying to find a TikTok like expert, or a threads expert or, Pinterest expert, trying to find people who can give us sort of insight into that. So if you know somebody, please let me know and email me or DM me. I would love to hear it. With that said, let's get into the interview. Molly Arbuthnott has been a teacher for 7 years before turning to writing and has completed a master's in children's literature at Glasgow University. Her ambition was to read a piece of her own work to her class rather than someone else's. Having lost their family Siamese cat on a ferry a few years before, it seemed like a sensible place to start, while also providing a much needed emotional support for her and for her family. So now Molly has 18 plus books, and she has some really cool stories and ideas that you guys are going to, I think your mind's going to be a little blown and your gears are going to start working. So let's get into the show, and I'll see you next week. All right, everyone. Today I am with Molly Arbuthnott. She is a children's book author with over 18 books. She has gone both indie and traditional. So we're going to talk about so many things today. But first, thank you, Molly, for coming on the show. It's exciting to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So first, I want to ask you, like, how did you get into writing, and why did you choose children's books and picture books?
I used to be a teacher, primary teacher, and then I shifted. I was given a paid sabbatical for a year from my school, and that kind of gave me the push to pursue the books. I felt like I mean being a teacher is wonderful, but you're spread pretty thin. You kind of have
Mm-hmm.
to cover everything. And I
Right,
felt like my energies were best used and utilized if I just focus on one particular area
right.
and do it really well. And so I decided the stories just kind of came to me, and I've now got so many stories in a book that I can just kind of keep churning them out for the rest of my life, and all will be fine. So I just it's a nice, and it gives you a bit of freedom in how you live, where you want to go, what you
True.
want to do, and I really enjoyed that aspect as well.
Okay. What age were you teaching?
I've taught all kinds of ages. I taught year 4, year 6, year
Okay.
2, and then 18-year-olds for a bit as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when you started writing the books, were you trying to focus more on like before kids learn to read or at the moment that they're trying to read? Or like what is the difference between like picture books, children's books, like the age variance
Yeah,
there?
I don't really differentiate my books as being for a particular age, because I think the sign of a good book means that any age can enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I try and sell my things.
So
I I think it's kind of the fault of our education system that I picture books deemed the kind of bottom rung of the ladder,
right, right.
and everything kind of comes, and then everything is on top of that. So basically, if you are reading a picture book, it kind of, I had one parent the other day when I was at a book event and I was there with my books and they came up with their kid and I said, would you like a book? And they said, oh, well, no, our child's beyond those. And so then you kind of feel, well, yeah, it's sort of, and I feel that that's a bit unfair on the poor picture book and unfair on the poor
And
child.
on the poor kid. Like
Yeah.
I loved pictures. I hated it when I got to books that didn't have pictures.
But I mean, I don't think as a generation, as a human being, I think it's really important to have the pictures because it uses a part of your brain that inspires the creativity and the imagination. Whereas when you get to a book like I went to this launch recently, Son of Nobody, it's about the Iliad and footnotes and words and really interesting, but you were very much told what to think and say and feel,
Hmm.
whereas picture books still give you that freedom of choice, which is really important.
Right. I think we've gotten to that point where we're constantly pushing, like our adult world is so busy, but we're also pushing like 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. You have to read before kindergarten. And then once you read, you have to move on, like
Yeah,
study,
yeah.
and
It's
it's just
constant
like,
pressure.
yeah, you never get to sit down. And I think what we're missing, like you said, is that creativity, just sitting and taking a moment. A picture book, a moment with a picture book is going to help your child's brain more than a moment on the tablet, like
Yes, no,
100%.
exactly, exactly. Well, it's been proven actually. I think in Norway there are recent stats that kids were given tablets and their concentration levels and their brain power has gone down significantly since.
Right, right. I mean, I loved picture books with my kids. It gave, even when I was exhausted, like
Mm,
having,
mm.
3 under 5, I could sit with a picture book and ask any of the ages, like all of them, what color is this? And then they would get, the older one would ask the younger one, and she could find more things. She could count them higher,
Mm,
whereas
mm.
like, and you can use it for so many things. It's not just
Yeah,
read through
yeah.
the book. You can actually use it for so many things. And since the kids want to read it a million times, and as the adult, sometimes you're like, can we read another one? You can constantly find a different game to play because of the pictures.
Exactly. So it makes it a really immersive, interesting, fun experience
Yes,
all
yes,
the time.
absolutely. I want pictures back in adult books, quite frankly. But one of the, I mean, as we're talking about pictures, the biggest part of having a picture book is working with an artist. So, what was that process
Mm.
like in finding an artist that would fit what how you saw that the book?
Yeah, well, that's where I feel I've been very fortunate to have
Okay.
gone down the indie route because it's enabled me to maintain that kind of degree of ownership over who I
Okay.
choose to work with. Which, whereas when you are more traditionally published, the publishing houses tend to pick the artists.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
you don't have as much control. I tend to kind of leave the artist to complete the illustration in a way that they feel is correct and
Mm,
right. I mean, I give them the story and I give them the number of spreads, and then I try not to really interfere
okay.
because I don't like people interfering in my
That's
creativity.
true.
And so I don't like to interfere in theirs. I mean, there was one stage with one of my illustrator friends where I had to step in because she was suggesting putting Hitler in the book. And I didn't know whether Hitler would be quite a good addition to a picture book. So I stepped in at that stage. But generally, I just leave them to it. And it's actually been an amazing this story I'm doing at the moment about a midge has been an amazing experience because the illustrator is a very professional, passionate illustrator, and
Mm,
he's very much kind of playing the promotional side as well. And that's sort of really helping me out because she's
right.
showcasing how the story is developing and building. We've just put we just put Balmoral, the royal residence in Scotland, into the story just because I felt like it was a important historical monument and it's good to showcase these things. So
Yeah.
that's kind of merrily gone in. There are lots of rainbows, and it's just been a really nice. We have kind of weekly meetings, and she just shows me what she's doing, and it's a fully kind of you feel like, because sometimes it's quite, I have to be quite careful because you have to keep the balance kind of you have to keep make sure that it's not kind of that it's an equal balance, so it's not one
Yeah.
person kind of leading and the other sort of following behind. Tends to be once the book itself is done that I'm kind of doing the promotion, just because the illustrators have loads of other things they need to be doing, and
Okay.
the book sales generally it's well, I mean, but potentially this time it will be a bit different. I don't know, but my illustrator has lots of children and can't travel really so much. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of a bit more fortunate that I'm relatively free and able to do those things. So um but you have to keep the kind of balance symbiotic so that it's enjoyable and as enjoyable for them as it is for me. And I think in
That's
all
true.
these things, if you just keep the joy alive,
Yeah.
however you can do that in whatever ways you do that, then it means that it's people are prepared to put in the work, invest the time, and the finished result will always be amazing.
Right. That is true. Like if they enjoyed the process with you, why wouldn't they share about the book, right?
Yeah,
That
well,
they've
that's
been
the
part
same
of.
for anything. I mean,
Yeah.
anything, if you just have to keep joy going, and then
Yes.
people enjoy anything to do with you.
So how did you find illustrators as an indie author? Like
I had
I
different ways
okay.
and different means. I worked with friends.
Okay.
Um, and so my first kind of 6 or 7 books were with friends, which was brilliant and really enjoyable experience.
Had they done children's picture books before?
No, they
Okay.
hadn't. So,
So you
but
were
I hadn't
both
written
learning.
children's picture
Yeah.
books, so it was kind of a new venture for both of us.
Okay.
I've kind of learnt, if you work with friends, it's quite easy to blur the boundaries by mistake, because you just think, oh well, they're friends, so I don't need to be as professional. I can relax a bit, and it doesn't really matter. But actually, with friends, you have to be more black and white because
Yeah.
there's much more at stake,
Okay.
and because it's not just a professional relationship, it's a personal friendship
Right, right, right. That's good advice.
um,
Yeah.
that if things go wrong can be affected. So you just need to be very sure before embarking on anything that everyone's very clear of the where the line boundaries lie and what the
Right.
future route is.
And is it usually you pay them up front or is it a royalty
Yeah, I pay them a
spread?
set amount per book, and then if following sale, if the sales reach a certain threshold of net gain, so that's after all the expenditures been taken
That's an
out,
important point to make. Net gain, not
then
just,
then
yeah.
they receive a percentage of the royalties. But
Okay.
I
So
mean,
it would be important to have a contract written up.
yeah, exactly. That's what I meant with not blurring the
Right, right,
boundaries.
right.
You need to make sure you've got contracts in place.
Yes, yes. And to that I think is very important because when you first start out with a passion project, you
Mm.
don't necessarily think of that, right? Like you're not necessarily thinking
Yeah,
about
exactly.
royalties
No, I
when you're
know
just,
that's what I was saying. I tend to kind
yeah,
of jump it. Well, we agree. We both jump in at the deep
yes.
end a bit.
then and then you got to swim out of the deep end, like almost
Yeah, or
drowning.
sink, which you don't want to do.
You don't
So,
want to do.
no,
And you don't want your friendship to sink. So this
you
is very
don't.
important to be thinking about that. Um, to really take some time to sit back because I can see how friendships, there would be words said like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, we'll figure that out when we come to it. Oh, don't worry about me." Like, but in the end, if the book does take off or it does hit a certain threshold, more likely than not, the friendship, needs some boundaries on the contracts. We need to not just have hearsay, we need to have like written, right? I've had conversations with too many authors that friendship has had verbal contracts and not written contracts. And then
Mm-mm.
there's just no proof, right? And it's a pity.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So when you have found illustrators outside of friendships, where have you gone to find them?
Sure. Well, the subsequent illustrators I found, I was in Bologna for a book fair, and I, uh, I was in Bologna for a book fair. I came across a lovely girl called Anastasia, who's an artist in Indonesia. She's in Indonesia at the moment, and she did an art course, and that opened my opportunities up to about 16, well, no, not 16, what am I saying, 90 different illustrators
Oh, wow.
that I
Okay.
then interviewed, and then I picked three.
Okay. 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 So a lot of this is kind of chatting with other illustrators and sort of finding your way, being willing to talk, I guess, and meet other people and see where to find them.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And it kind of gave me a good base of illustrators that I can then call on if so another friend actually got in touch a bit ago saying, "Oh, I'm looking for an illustrator. Would you be able to help?" And so
Right.
I can now kind of offload other illustrators onto friends,
Oh,
which is
that's
quite
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
That kind of helps everybody.
Right. So you said something a bit before that I want to talk about because when I've had a couple of people come up to me and talk to me like, "Oh, I want to do a children's book." And I immediately say, "I've never done a children's book. There's a lot, it's different." So like I can format a novel, but you said the spread. And so I've heard a little bit about this spread. Like this is where
Mhm.
a lot of the thought comes into for your children's books, where like how many words will be on each page, why it stops, why you turn the page here. So how did you find like inform yourself, educate yourself on how like this spread is done? Because it's not just a Google Doc like
Yeah.
like a novel. So how did you figure out that whole process?
Again, that's kind of work in progress.
Okay.
So I work quite closely with my editor who decides where the words on a page are going to go.
So an
And
editor who has worked on children's books, I guess.
yeah, he runs
Okay.
publishing house in Cardiff,
Okay.
Candy Jar Books. And they're a hybrid as well of traditionally published and self-published. So
Okay.
I kind of flip between their posts.
Yeah, yeah.
That they so that kind of helps with the formatting. And I mean, I guess from the very beginning I was very conscious in a picture book you have to make every word count because you
Mm,
don't have the luxury of having kind of fluff
okay.
like you do. I mean, not that big chapter books have fluff so much, but they have a bit more sort of padding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas in a picture book, you can't really afford to do that. So I find that quite easy to do generally. You just kind of because you just convey what you think in minimal words, and then you just decide how many you kind of then want to have a mix of single page and double page spreads
Okay.
that can kind of cover so there are lots of different interpretations and ways of showing what you're writing and then then you've got and then you need to think or figure out what the back blurb's going to be, what the front cover's going to be,
Mm.
all
And
of
then
that because it all is quite integral to the story. And then you have to think what the inner cover's going to be like and all sorts of things. I mean, the thing with the spreads is there's no right or wrong.
okay.
You just so maybe one page you've got loads of words and one page is empty, so it doesn't really it doesn't really matter too much.
Okay.
You just want to kind of have the words of in an obvious place and to
Right.
make
And
it
then
kind of
working with the pictures,
eye-catching.
I guess,
Yeah, and
making
so
it.
that the words relate to the pictures too.
How many words, like what's the maximum that you do?
Again, there's no right or wrong for that,
Okay.
really, because you have some, I mean, you have look at kind of Winnie the Pooh is kind of chapter book slash picture book.
Yeah, they're
It's
quite wordy, yeah.
it's quite wordy, but then there are some picture books that are just pictures, no words. So um, it would be interesting. I don't really think there's a specific definition of when a picture book is a picture book.
So you
I think
just really want to keep it as tight, I guess. It's kind of like a short story. Like you just don't want the fluff. You don't want the extra
exactly. Yeah, you
adjectives.
want it tight.
Okay. All right. So that, and would you recommend people look finding an editor who has worked on children's books? Is that, do you feel like that's important?
Yeah, I would say that is because then they know what they're doing, especially if it's say your first picture book, you
Mm,
don't know what you're doing, so you want to find someone who does.
yeah, that's true.
Um,
I guess we
otherwise
all need it.
otherwise you're kind of a bit screwed. So, um, yes, I would say it is quite important.
And how has it been as an indie author? I mean, just between like color ink and the size of picture books, and because
Hmm.
they're a little bit different. So how does that process work, like in pricing them? And have you had a was it difficult at first to figure out? Do you upload them to Amazon? Like how? I guess that's a lot of questions. We'll start
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Sorry. So, well, I recently, I was planning I went to New Zealand and Australia in February,
okay,
and I was busy planning my tour before I went. And that kind of gave me, it kind of was exhausting because I was having to stay up till about 3 in the morning to find schools to
oh
do
my
events
gosh,
in, and then I was getting up at about 9 to kind of start my normal day. So I just kind of almost burnt out. And so
Ooh,
I've kind of learned that actually I'm in a position now of needing to get people to kind of help me
help
out.
you, yeah, which is
Um,
nice. It's a nice place to be, but I'm
yeah, it is. But then that means, gosh, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Can't remember what your question was.
it's okay. Just getting started. I mean, it sounds like you do a lot of in person. Um, but I guess I was thinking like, do you have them uploaded to Amazon or
Oh,
bookstores, or
yeah,
is it
that's what it
mostly
was.
in
Yeah,
person?
so now I've got a lovely lady called Jenny who's kind of in charge of uploading my books. And so we're trying to get them into Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and she's very good at finding kind of ways of
Okay,
sharing the work. Because I feel like all these things you want to have it in as many different places as possible
sure.
because then people can buy it and purchase it. It's like I used to think when I was kind of looking at book deals in the early days, I used to think, oh, well, I've got one book deal, so now that's it. That's it for that book. But actually, that's not the case at all. You want to get as many book deals to get the book in as many different countries as you possibly can, because
Okay.
then it kind of gives it the biggest chance of success, and it shows that people have a degree of trust to take on your work as well. So it kind of gives it a bit more affirmation, I guess, too.
Yeah, the book
But it
the
just
work is
obviously it
not
takes
done. Just
time, and
yeah.
you need to build up the contacts and you need to
Okay.
build up the reputation and everything. It's a full packet. And I don't know whether it's the same in the book world, but I've recently released an animation. And again, that's been a whole new minefield because I've had no idea how to go about it. And I thought, oh, well, it will be easy. But I think, like all these things, even the most gentle of institutions, like I thought books were, there's always a kind of hierarchy in place to a degree
Right.
in anything in life. You think
Yeah.
people will be appreciated for their merit, but it's always built on kind of, well, not always, but most of the time built on contacts or prior connections or someone's
True.
status or if you're kind of trying to break through that, it's incredibly hard, even if what
Right.
you're doing and creating is incredibly important or very valuable, it's very hard to kind of build that reputation and credibility if you're doing it yourself.
Oh, I 100% agree. That absolutely. And I think every quote unquote overnight success has years behind it of that
Hard
person
work.
working hard. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you started out not on Amazon. How did you start out? How did you bring out your books um and get them to the market? What market did you bring them to?
Well, the space under my bed in my parents' house for a long time.
So you got
I've
them printed and
yes.
okay.
And then they hid under my bed my childhood bed. And then actually I've recently bought a flat in Edinburgh purely so that I have now a bookcase where I can put my books, and my books have now been upgraded from under the bed to a proper
To
bookcase.
a proper display case. So you
Yes.
did in person for years now,
Yes.
just like bringing, okay, but you've been
Since
successful.
2017.
Wow. So how, okay, if you have the book printed, and I mean, this is how a lot of people did. They would print their book, and I actually think in person is probably one of the best ways to find people. It's just creating that time and space. And like you said, you're up till 3 a.m. trying to figure out where to take these. So you did book fairs and schools? Is that where you started?
Yeah, book fairs not so much. Schools kind of
Mostly
more.
schools.
And I kind of used the books as, I mean, I was in a bit of a funny place when I started writing. I'll not really go into the details, but I was kind of a bit introverted. And so I kind of needed the books to leverage me out, really,
Mm-hmm.
to a degree, because naturally I would quite happily just stay at home all day, every day if I could.
Most writers, most of
And
us
so
would.
I kind of needed that push to kind of go off and explore the world and do
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
again. So I kind of used the books because I've reckoned that every country in the world has a school.
Yeah.
So any country in the world I choose to go to, I can find a way of justifying being there, which was really important to me. So I kind of used the books to give me that kind of push to travel. I would have never gone to New Zealand and Australia if it hadn't been for
I
my.
mean, that's amazing. So you pitch schools. You think like I want to go to New Zealand. I'm going to pitch some schools to see if they'll have you
Yeah,
go in and
exactly.
read it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I
Oh,
don't trouble it. I don't. I kind of have a charge on my pitch, but I don't often charge it because the schools sort of say, "Oh, well, we can't afford." I mean, sometimes they're very generous and say they can, but more often than not, particularly in the UK actually at the moment where sort of creativity is being so hit badly that I kind of want to go and support that. So actually, I've just taken on, I just taken on for my 20th book project. I'm doing this book about two guinea pigs called Mocha and Latte for this school called Greenside Primary School, which is in Shepherd's Bush, and it was designed by Goldfinger, aka, Ian Fleming, James Bond.
no kidding. Are you
So I'm
serious?
kind of using that as leverage to create these Bond girl guinea pigs.
That's so fun.
So that's kind of going to be, and then all the money from those books is going to go to helping the school because the school is grade two listed, but it's in serious need of redevelopment. And if they can't secure the funds, then it kind of gets bought over and made into a hotel or something or
Oh
whatever
my
it is they
gosh.
do to these places. So I'm trying to help raise the money for the school so that then the school can stay as a school.
I think that's so that what a fun project to do with a really good reason behind it, obviously, too. Like that's so interesting. So so you just sort of proposed or you already knew them and like you're writing this book specifically for that school, which obviously you can sell later.
Well,
Um,
I won't personally be selling it. It will be for the school, but
mhm.
I did a story called Jennifer the Goose, before. I used to live in Shepherd's Bush, and so I was quite connected to the charity, and they do a biannual festival. And so 2 years ago, I did with Greenside School as well this story about this goose called Jennifer, because that part of London used to be where they washed all the sheets because it was kind of deemed clean. So
Mm.
everyone would send their laundry to West London. And so, and then the geese would kind of, and then the geese were quite integral to that part of London as well because they're linked to clothes washing and that kind of thing. So
Huh.
it built up this brand of a goose. And so then I wrote this story about this goose who goes around all the shops on Shepherd's Bush trying to find a way to unglue her beak. And then
Oh,
again, the kids illustrated that, and the kids will illustrate this one too. So it kind of brings them into it.
oh, that's
And
so
so
fun.
that was kind of, and then so we launched that and we did a treasure hunt around Askew Road where kids could find the shops that are in the story. And so then hopefully this time with these guinea pigs it will be sort of centered around the school. So then kids can go and find different buildings and different things in the school.
Oh, I think that's so wonderful. That's amazing. So would you recommend that people start working with the schools where they live at? Um,
Yes, well, I mean, obviously there are lots of different ways of working with schools, but for me, the books is a really nice way to encourage creativity. And then also a child seeing their work in print is kind of a
mm,
huge boost to their confidence and
yeah,
self-esteem,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
and really nice achievement.
So when you said that you have a charge on your pitch, but you don't usually charge it, is that a pretty I guess I think for indie
Oh, well, I may
authors,
be shot in the foot by other people, by other the trouble is then it kind of puts you again. The trouble is as a creative process, quite often writers kind of need to charge, and I'm quite fortunate that I don't have to always need to charge, and it's not through kind of a way to. It's not as kind of I don't do it as leverage for myself against other people. It's only because it's for me the writing is so that I can integrate with the kids and do stuff with the kids and inspire their
yeah.
creativity. And
I've
so,
honestly never heard of a school paying. I've heard of a school encouraging parents to buy the book as like part of the, but I mean, I'm sure maybe there, but especially if they're smaller schools or, not as,
yeah, but then the other side of the coin, you kind of, while as a writer or creative, you're not sort of giving a tangible product at the end, you are still investing your time and
mhm.
energy and
Yeah,
petrol and everything that kind of is accountable for. So you can't sell yourself short too
true.
often because then it discredits what you're doing and it discredits the industry and it means that you can't make a living from it.
Absolutely. I think there is a balance to all of
Mm.
that. And I think just like anything in life, you get to pick and choose. So if it's maybe a school that has more resources, sort of put your foot down. In a school, I think no one's going to fault you for not charging a school with fewer resources or in a different way of working. But I have heard of like libraries or schools. I mean, I get emails of like this author is coming and they'll have this many books and we really encourage you to come, send money with your child to buy the book and support the author. And I think many parents are receptive to that. Of course, as an author, I'm always like, of course, I have all these books that I might not read, but that's okay.
Mm.
Just supporting them. But I think it's also important as an indie author to understand how the pitch process goes, because if a traditionally published author is being coached to put in a charge, and to have the pitch, properly formatted, then indie authors also need to sort of, in this day and age of AI and bots and weird emails, you need to look as professional or as much like the traditionally published authors, so that the schools know and they'll respond to you, right? Like we need to be
Mm.
able to help them
Well, yeah, but then
decipher.
I feel like, particularly in this AI world, kind of having that human touch or human connection is kind of so important. It's the one asset that as a person, for now at least, you have
Yes,
above
so
kind of
true.
other things. And I think even if AI and robots and whatever the future has in store for human beings, nothing will ever quite replace a creative brain.
I don't think so. Yeah. And I think the most human thing you can do is have an author come in and read their book to the kids, and show their
Mm.
book and show them what's possible. And, you can be an illustrator and author. And how do you get your books there? Do you have physical books? Like when you went to New Zealand, did you have physical books or did you just sort of tell them where they could buy your books if they
Yeah,
wanted
that's the
to?
trouble. I'm kind of learning that I used to think I need to find publishing houses in all these different countries, but really I just need to find distributors.
Oh, okay. And then
So that
somehow
then I
order
can
them.
go to a place. You
Okay.
kind of need distributors and marketers, ideally. So that
Okay.
then, because I mean, with the best in the world, you cannot be in every single country, every
No,
single.
this is true.
It's
This
just
is very
physically
true.
impossible. So you kind of need, because it's all very well having the books distributed, but if no one knows about them, then no one will buy them. So you kind of, and that's where the publisher kind of helps. But the trouble is, well, is that I've found that quite often, once you actually have a physical book, publishers don't really want to take it on. They want the story in its initial concept before it
Oh.
becomes something physical.
So you're finding that once you've published the book, a traditional publisher won't buy it.
Yeah, more often than not.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it does happen, but it does happen, but it doesn't, right? Like I mean, and you can see it on both ends. They kind of want something new. If it does happen, I think Colleen Hoover is like the biggest example of that. I think because she
Hmm.
worked so hard to sell it and got so much success on her own that then the traditional publisher came in. But that
Yeah.
comes back to like your own marketing and your own work and the hard work that you put in behind getting, eyes on your book. So other than in person, is there anything else that you do to sort of get eyes, like the marketing? I know now you're saying you're going to put together a team, but you've been on your own for almost 10 years. So how have you, um, what
Well,
other
I
ways have you
haven't
gotten it done?
really. That's why the books have been under my family, my childhood bed quite a lot. But I'm kind of trying to be a little bit more strategic now. I guess the thing is I kind of launched into this not really needing to make it I mean, it would be great if the books can kind of make a good amount of money, but that was never my main focus.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of just had these stories that I just really needed to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah.
And so I put all my energy into creating the stories. And so that now I've kind of got these 18 stories, but I've not put in the kind of infrastructure to be able to get them into the world that easily. So I'm now trying to kind of take a step back and do that. But I knew when I was launching into this career that if it didn't work, I could always go back and teach, which I really had enjoyed. So
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't putting the pressure on to kind of make everything successful.
Right. It is a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? Because I have said the same to a friend of mine, like, well, if I don't have the financial pressure, like maybe that's what's missing because there are some people who do and you just get it done. But on the flip side, you might not have 18 books if you had really had to sell, because it takes time. It
It
like
does. It
you
does.
really there's only so much that we can focus on. What I love about books is that they don't really age out, and
No, no, exactly, exactly. That's kind of what I'm trying to remind myself because I kind of feel as well that you're in danger sometimes if your books are beginning to do quite well that you kind of suddenly have I mean suddenly I get all these emails from all these quite often I think they're fakes but all these kind of book clubs, people saying,
Hmm.
oh, we want to do this and do that, but there's a kind of $200 fee or whatever
Yeah.
it is. That most of the
Right.
time they go into my bin, but suddenly having kind of 50 of those emails daily, kind of
Yeah.
you spend all your day just wading through your emails before
I
you can
know.
actually do anything.
I
And
know. It's horrible.
there's a danger if when things begin to do quite well that suddenly more people become more interested. And I'm generally a people pleaser,
Yes,
I
exactly.
would say. And so
It,
you kind of say yes to things, and then you end up spreading yourself thin, and then you end up not delivering as well as you could,
yeah. And your
or sort of
creativity goes down.
compromise things in certain ways. So
Yeah.
it's a fine balancing act. And I would find the travel pretty intense. And so I'm trying to kind of scale that back a little bit, but then it kind of comes at a cost of other things. And so
Right.
you just
Right.
kind of, you're having to constantly juggle. And the more you have to juggle, the harder the juggling kind of becomes. I thought it would be easier the more books I did and if they began to do quite well, but it doesn't. It
I
becomes really
know.
harder.
It
And the
doesn't.
trouble as well with a book is that there's never kind of, or I've discovered with this kind of career or this world, there's never an end point because great, you publish a book, but then that's only the beginning. And now I'm finding that kind of there's potentially video games and the animation,
Yeah.
and suddenly
Right.
that kind of spreads you into whole different worlds, which are great. But again, you kind of, if you're wanting to maintain that personal touch, it kind of becomes impossible. So I'm
Right.
beginning to
It,
learn to delegate just because I have to, and to kind of be a little bit more selective of what I say yes and no to
yeah.
just because you end up kind of reach a point where you've kind of got to really.
Yeah. I agree. I do think taking things slower in this career and learning and being able to then, I mean, I can say no to things now that I probably would not have in 2017, just because I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know, or just because you're so excited, or, you just sort of now you look at an email and you go, is that real? Is that not? Okay, how would they
yeah.
have found? And maybe in 2017 with my first book, I probably would have just been so excited. That I would have said yes and maybe gotten scammed. I mean, that's the sad part of it, between like getting scammed or just spreading yourself too thin for legitimate reasons. So everyone has different ideas on like how to do this process, but I do think a book is forever, and you can always learn marketing. You can
Yeah.
always, it's just, yeah, how much can you do while keeping your creativity? That's always the balance right there in that question.
Yeah. And I find actually the personal investment, well, I've got a bit better at it, but I mean, every time before I publish a book, the night before, I cry for at least 2 hours
It's so
because
much.
they're so kind of personal.
Mm.
And then the books kind of they resurface. So recently I one of my books, Aim and the Bat, Australian book about an Australian bat, is up for an award. So I'm trying to kind of get votes at the moment for the People's
Oh,
Book
that's
Prize,
wonderful.
which closes end of April. And I was kind of putting a poster about that onto my social media last night, and suddenly all these kind of these emotions that I buried and were kind of were gone were suddenly resurfacing again. And that's the trouble. Once the book, I was realizing last night that once a book's a book, I mean, you can never just bury it. It's
No.
always
No.
there, which is sometimes a blessing and sometimes a curse.
Yes. Well, and that's why it is good to focus your, at least the energy that you have, to focus it on producing the book that you're proud of, right? That's what I always tell people, because if you're
Yes.
spread between doing all of these different things and you end up with a book that you could have done better, like that gut feeling, I think that
Mm,
that's the worst. It's like, okay, if I can only do so many things, I'm going to produce the product that, I'm not saying perfect, I'm just saying the product that you wanted to make, that you didn't take any
yeah.
shortcuts because of time or because of somebody else telling you something, because it is going to come back up, right? And so you would rather have the feelings come up of like, whether you're remembering like how much of a struggle it was, because like every book, or how easy it was, however those memories are, at least you'll know I'm really proud of this book. And if it wins the People's Award, you'll be like, oh, well, I'm very excited about it because at least, you'll have lots of emotions, but it won't be regret of I could
Okay.
have done it different. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about that People's Award. The People's Award is for people, like readers go and vote, right? Is that how
Yes,
that works?
exactly. It's for anyone to vote.
Okay.
It's I entered with my first book in 2017 and I've just decided to enter again.
That's wonderful.
So it's yes, it's very much, well, it's like the name suggests, very much voted by the people.
Yeah, it's like those when we were younger, the music video People's Award or something like that. That's
Hmm.
so how can people help you out with that award?
Oh, well, they can vote. I'll share
Okay.
the links on my website.
Okay.
And and on my website you can sign up for my newsletter as well. And then I'm going to send out a newsletter quite shortly, I think, because there's lots of things that have kind of come up. And so and that will have a link for the People's Book
Oh,
Prize. It
wonderful.
closes 30th of April, so we've not got that long left.
Not too long,
Well, I've
but long
decided that
enough.
I will give it a push, final push.
Yes. And I really want to encourage people. We're going to have the link to your website in the show notes.
Mm,
Your website's beautiful. Like it really gives you a taste into the world of like of your books. You have all your books organized here, but then you have merchandise and you have all these. I just think it's a really beautiful website. So we're going to have
you.
and it's a place where they can sign up for your newsletter as well. And we'll have your social media links, but definitely go check out Molly's website. It is a beautiful rendition of what an author website should be. We've been talking about author websites on the podcast too. So it just like, if an author's website can give you a feel of what you're like a taste of what you're going to get in the books, I think that's magnificent, right? Like because it tells you right away, like, are these books for me or not? I almost want to be a grandma so I can buy some of these books. I can find a
Well,
little.
you don't need to be a
That's
grandma before
true.
you buy a
Well, I
picture
have
book.
18-year-olds, so but
Well, the story of a sign of a good book means any age can enjoy it.
this is true. Oh, I do have a nephew, and I
Hmm.
should. So I will be poking around your website even more. So you will have them up on Amazon soon, I hear, but
Oh, they
where
are.
can
They're all
they
on
are on
Amazon
Amazon now?
already. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So we'll have all the links in the show notes below. It was really fun to talk to you and chat about children's books. This is definitely a question I get quite often since I don't know anything about it. It was lovely to have you on and to help clear up some of the questions that people have. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the time. It's been great fun.
And we'll have you on soon. Thank you, and we'll
Thank
talk soon.
you. Bye.